Okay, so in the previous lesson we took sounds that we'd recorded using a microphone and we divided them up into across a sampler, placing each sound on a single key of the piano. Today I'm going to talk about the way that sound within a particular instrument, like a drum kit, the way a drum kit is designed is to space out the sounds by frequency more than by volume or anything. So a cymbal is a much higher hiss, obviously, than a snare drum, and the main snare drum is not as low as the bass drum. And by having the sounds spaced out by frequency, the overall sound becomes easier to listen to because the sounds aren't fighting in the same space and not crowding each other. So that's the way a drum kit is designed. Now, when you record your own sounds like we did around the school, there are quite a few sounds that are fighting each other in the same frequency space for high and low. So what we have on the sampler is what's known as a filter. And that filters the high and the low frequency passes, the hisses and the booms, as it were. And so there are different types we can turn this filter into different types. A high pass filter that only allows the hisses and the highs through and cuts out the bass. Or a low pass filter allowing the low stuff to pass through and get to the speakers and cutting out all the high. So just as a lesson in frequencies more than a lesson in wonderful music, I'm just going to take the sounds I've got here and I'm going to space them out more than they are using the filter. So on my music, I'm going to find a bass type sound, and I'm going to draw 4 of those so that it keeps going. I'm already on loop, and I'm looping this 1 bar. And while it's looping, I can now work out which note of the piano that's on, which is on this E. So there's C there, middle C, C3, D and E. So I know it's the E one I've got to change, so I make sure I'm on the 3rd one, the E, you can see there. And so that's now the settings I'm changing. And down on the filter, what I'm going to do is cut. I'm going to use a low pass filter because I still want the low to pass through. And I'm going to cut out all of that hissy high from the recording. And then going to boost that using a resonance. So I'm going to make whatever's left resonate more and just slightly boost that. Okay. Now, because it's a bassy noise, I've lost quite a bit there, so I'm just going to boost the level of that one key as well, the volume. So I've changed the volume, I've done a low pass to only allow the low stuff through, and I've increased the resonance to sort of boost it slightly because I've cut some stuff out. Now I'm going to go back to the music, find my snare type sound, move that up. So it's repeating on that G key, C, D, E, F, G. So now, I'm going to go back to my sampler, go to the 5th note, which is on the G. So I'm now changing the settings for that. You can see the settings have gone back to the default. And I'm going to use what's known as a band pass filter on this one. And that's literally allowing a very thin slice of the frequency through. One band of the frequency. And I've just got to find which band has got most of that snare type sound, that metallic, which is about there. So most of that sound is not really high, it's not really low, and now this thin band here is going through to the speakers, and that's where I'm sort of chopping that sound down to exactly what it is. I'm just going to boost that a little bit, put the level up a little bit. Okay, so that's a band pass filter. allowing that slice of the sound through. I'm now going to move this up. Okay, so I've now got a slightly hissier sound on the next note up. So I'm going to move them up to here. And I'm going to turn this into my cymbal type shaker high hissy sound that I'm going to have in my beat to space it out amongst the other stuff. So go to the next note up, which is my A. Make sure I'm on that note before I change the filter. Go down to the filters. And now here I want a high pass filter. I want this to space it out. I want only the high to get through. So from that recording, the high frequencies are getting through. I'm going to drop that down a bit to allow a bit more through. And I'm going to boost that to ensure it's a nice, clear, high sound. Put up the level. There's a bit too much of a kick on that, so I'm going to make it even higher. Now it sounds more like a shaker. Okay. So now when I put those three together, if I put my shaker shaking across the top, I put my two snare drums on 2 and 4, the second beat and the fourth beat, and my now slightly bassier bass drum can go on there. And if I had them through decent speakers with a bit more bass, you'd be able to hear that those three sounds are now spaced out more. The good thing about Reason is while it's playing, I can slightly tweak those. Make that even higher for the shaker. And now, with those sounds spaced out more, it's easier on the ear because they're fighting less against each other. Anyway, that's a quick lesson on the low pass, the band pass for a slice, and the high pass filter, where we can use those to make sound a lot easier to listen to.